Hi, it's Timothy Lee from Music Meltdown. I'm going to tell you a little story about Ozzy Osbourne. Just kidding, we're going to go somewhere quieter. Cut. Take 14. Welcome to the beautiful Kinzu Dam in Warren County, Pennsylvania, as we remember, honor, and cherish the great Ozzy Osbourne with his passing this week. I have my own Ozzy Osbourne story, so let's go back to June 21st, 1982 at the MGM Grand in Reno, Nevada, and we're going to talk about the great Ozman. We're still at the Kinzu Dam in beautiful Warren County, Pennsylvania, but we decided to get to a quieter spot. What I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about the great Ozzy Osbourne. Obviously, unless you live under a rock here in America, you know that he passed away this past week. It's all over social media, and I have my own personal story about Ozzy Osbourne, outside of the fact that I love the music, but I had my own little run-in with Ozzy. So let's go back to June 21st, 1982 at the MGM Grand in Reno, Nevada. I was a front desk clerk working there, third shift. Ozzy, with acts opening up the show, was playing at the Centennial Coliseum on the Diary of a Madman tour the next night on June 22nd, 1982. And they were going to stay at the MGM Grand that night and then obviously play the show the next day. So I was 19 years old at the time, I believe, 19, and the front desk clerk saw a bunch of kind of ratty looking road dogs that had been partying to the nines, and they were a rough looking bunch. And she didn't really want anything to do as far as passing out the room keys and their itinerary and all the stuff that we had to put together for them. So I'm like, I'll do it. Now, there was a bar right across the way from the front desk. And who else is manning the bar other than the great Ozzy Osbourne himself? Now, I know you all like to call him the Prince of Darkness, and that's what he's been labeled, but he was far from a Prince of Darkness. This guy was an amazing human being. So it was truly a rags to riches story. And so he's at the bar right across from the front desk. It's about, I want to say 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. They had just rolled in, and he's holding court at the bar. Now, you know, to backdrop the story, we have to remember that this is only 3 months and 4 days since the passing of Randy Rhoads. And I'm going to do a little digression here, but I truly believe that Randy Rhoads was the one that saved his career. Now, I had seen Black Sabbath in 1978 at the International Amphitheater in Chicago, and Ozzy was done at that point. In fact, on that Never Say Die tour, he was thrown out of the band when that was completed. Ironically, a small band from Pasadena, California called Van Halen was opening the show. I'm sure you know the story. Eddie playing with his back to the audience, but that's a whole nother story. So let's go back to the MGM Grand Reno. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Ozzy is holding court at the bar. They obviously had been partying. Let's just say there was some marching powder involved, and they were moving along, to say the least. So I go over to give them all their room keys and get everybody settled. Now you got to remember, the members of the band at this time were Ozzy, Brad Gillis, now from Night Ranger, had taken the guitar place, was doing the guitars. Rudy Sarzo was on the bass, Tommy Aldridge on the drums, and Don Airy on keyboards, and the little guy that they used to hang every night, which was classic. But again, if you saw the Diary of Madman tour or seen the videos, you know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, he was sitting at the bar. I get everybody settled. I get them all their itinerary packets and their room keys and everything. And I asked Ozzy, I said, hey, you know, I know it's late, but would you mind signing a few things for me? And he said, absolutely, no problem. Now, you got to remember, folks, this is pre-cell phones, you know, pre-cameras, and, you know, so basically you got him to sign cocktail napkins or stationery from the hotel or whatever you had on hand. Pen on paper. That's what it was back then, kids. There was no cell phones, no selfies, none of that stuff. But here's the great thing, and one I will always cherish and remember. Again, this is 3 months and 4 days after the passing of the guy that had resurrected his career. And even though I know that Randy was thinking about leaving the band, he catapulted Ozzy to his whole second career. And he was obviously carrying the weight of Randy's death. Obviously, like I said, it was less than 3.5 months since his passing and the tragic plane crash. And so, but yet he took the time to make sure that he signed several things for me. And then I had some buddies that I kind of dropped the dime that that they were staying there that night, that showed up, and he signed for them. He told some road stories. He made some jokes about the show at the International Amphitheater, because I told him I'd seen him on the Never Say Die tour with Van Halen, and he told some funny jokes about what an arse he was and the fact that he didn't even remember that show. So there you go. But, you know, America has dawned him, and maybe the world, as Prince of Darkness, and, you know, the crosses. And I'll be honest with you, when I saw Van Halen in 1970, when I saw Black Sabbath in 1978, that was heavy music back then. And it was scary. They had guys all dressed up like devil people, and it was a freaky thing for a 15-year-old that was sneaking into the city of Chicago that their parents didn't know about, which maybe they'll know now. But the guy was a human being, and he was a class act. And yeah, he, you know, had issues with addictions, and you know all the stories. I'm sure you've heard all the stories if you're a fan of his. But the thing is, he redeemed himself, and I think with the show that they did July 5th at Villa Park in England, I think he knew that the race was run for him, and that he had made amends with the people that he openly admitted that he was an idiot. Watch it on this great station you're watching now, YouTube. There's plenty of videos out there. And he was a class act, and I'll never forget, Ozzy, wherever you are up in heaven or wherever it might be, I want you to rest in peace, and I want you to know that that was an amazing act that you did. I know, I could see it in your eyes. That wasn't what you wanted to be doing then, but you know what? You took the time. You signed stuff for everybody that was at that bar that night. You never left. He did not leave until everybody got an autograph or what pictures or whatever it was that they're asking for, as well as all the rest of the band. But certainly Ozzy was the one. So that's my Ozzy Osbourne story. You know, I also want to shout out the fact that Chuck Mangione passed away this week. I can't think of how to pronounce his name, but the guitar player from Golden Earring passed away this week. I send out my condolences to all their families. May they all rest in peace, and keep it loud.